An agreement to halt the 14-month-old war in Gaza and free hostages held in Palestinian enclave could be signed in the coming days, with talks in Cairo making progress. Negotiators have sought three-phase Gaza ceasefire plan. The U.S. administration, joined by mediators from Egypt and Qatar, has made intensive efforts in the recent days to advance the talks before President Joe Biden leaves office next month. Meanwhile, the United States expressed cautious optimism on the prospects of reaching a ceasefire in Gaza, although it acknowledged that similar hopes were dashed before.
I don't have an assessment. It's not something that we were involved in. Obviously, he was a general who was involved in a number of atrocities. He was involved in the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian military.
Israel airstrikes in two parts of northern Gaza Strip happened on Tuesday, with Israel's military claiming it had taken out a Hamas weapons storage facility. Further north, in the town of Beit Lahia, which has been under Israeli siege since early October, at least 15 people were believed to be dead or missing under the rubble of a house hit by an airstrike around dawn. Former Israeli hostages who were released in a ceasefire deal a year ago held a presser in Tel Aviv, pleading for a comprehensive deal while their loved ones who are still held captive in Gaza. Speaking from their experience of spending about 50 days in captivity, the former hostages said that they feared for their relatives who are still trapped in Gaza.
100 hostages, men, women, children, are still being held in the depths of hell. My partner, my friends, and countless innocent lives are wasting away while the world stands silent. This is your time, the chance to change history. Step in, end this war, bring the hostage home. No words, no promise, only action. Bring them back, all of them, now.
All right, TD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us for more on this. Amit, good morning. Now, we've told our viewers about how there is hope and optimism when we talk of the ceasefire talks, but we also know that this is not for the first time that such hopes, have emerged, and this is not for the first time that ceasefire talks, mediation is going on. Help us understand, how do we expect the days ahead to pan out?
That's right, Preeti. That's right. Actually, I mean, despite the fact there is still unrest in certain pockets of Gaza, where some engagements are still on, parties who have been involved in the talks in Qatar, which is going on in Qatar right now, they have expressed optimism. In fact, Hamas has said that a ceasefire is definitely possible, and things, the way they are moving out, they are quite optimistic, and very progressive talks which are happening. It is possible. However, even Israel has said that probably a ceasefire date is much closer than ever before. But having said that, they have all the negotiators, that includes US, Israel, Qatar, and Egypt officials. They have also cautioned that the ceasefire deal is neither being sealed nor it is guaranteed at this point in time. And Hamas has also expected that a deal is possible provided Israel doesn't pose any new restrictions and conditions to take the talks further. Now, if you look at what had happened in August, during which the talks had failed, very similar issues are being discussed right now. Disagreement on which had actually led to the failure of the talks. And one of the key reasons, issues out there is withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. This was also one of the conditions which was being talked about during the ceasefire talks which were on in August, where it was said that Israel should completely pull out from that place, from Gaza, and also a complete ceasefire on operations. But again, this time Israel is again putting in a condition that they will not entirely withdraw from Gaza. And although Hamas is saying that is the essential prerequisite for all the release of hostages from both sides. In fact, Hamas will be releasing the hostages which are still captive, who had been taken on the 7th of October last year, and also exchange of Palestinian prisoners who are under, in various jails in Israel right now. So those things can only happen, once Israel withdraws and the ceasefire is kind of reached. But those talks are still going on, and we are seeing that there are incidents of again, in Gaza right now, which we saw in early this morning also. So things are at a very critical stage, and only when all the parties agree to it will a final ceasefire agreement will be reached. Now, in fact, US is also making a lot of effort. CIA's chief Bill Burns is also expected to travel later today. In fact, he's supposed to arrive in Doha to take the talks further in Doha, and also National Security Advisor of Israel, National Security Advisor of US was there. So Mr. Sullivan was there, trying to negotiate the deal further. Preeti?
All right, Amit, you're talking of this optimism and you're talking of this hope. Get us more as to how are, Israel and Hamas positioned at this time, because we see the airstrikes still continuing, which is indeed grave. At the same time, US has been talking of how, through mediation, there could be, they could achieve at a ceasefire. So put all this together, how do we expect the situation to build on from here?
Well, Preeti, the main, issue of contention right now is the captivity of all the Israeli hostages, who are still, placed in various pockets, undisclosed pockets of Gaza right now, and they are under the captivity of Hamas. Now, that is one of the key issues which Israel is harping on. Earlier, they were saying that there cannot be any negotiation unless and until those hostages are released. There will be no ceasefire. Now, Hamas has also kind of turned down talks earlier, saying that unless and until there is a ceasefire, there will be no exchange of hostages. Now, that again is an issue which still is being deliberated upon, and unless and until a situation is reached which is acceptable to both the parties, whether it's Hamas or Israel, things are still far from reality or ceasefire deal. In fact, Israel authorities, on one hand, they are expressing optimism as far as the talks are concerned, but at the same time, they're saying it's far from, it's still a few weeks away before any actual settlement is reached. And of course, we have to, all eyes will now be on CIA chief Bill Burns, who will be reaching Qatar later today to take the talks further. Preeti?
All right, Amit, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details.